What now bands should do to get signed?
Right. There's a fine line. I know that artists and bands, they develop their craft and they have their favorite bands that they work with and that they listen to and emulate and try to be the same as, right? And you have that, but at a certain point it becomes a business because it is the music business, right? So you have to take into account, just like somebody takes into account products and services, what is happening now, what happened in the past, where you think it's going, and where you think you fit in, and you're not really changing much of anything except your outlook, which changes a little bit the sound of the music, it changes things, and you have to fit in to a place. So besides the music fitting in to something that's current and not past, and maybe has a future to it, right? You have to look like current things, or your branding has to be consistent with the sound of the music. So if I listen to music, I want to see somebody that looks like what I'm hearing, right?
Yes.
And then when you figure out, but fundamentally at that point it becomes money, because you have to produce YouTube videos, small short things, to get people's attention. And you need to have, in this day and age, a certain amount of followers. And there's an algorithm now out, because we've been fooled in the past. There's an algorithm out that said if you have 100,000 followers, you have to have 10% has to be true purchasers or contacts. You know, something happens, there's some connection there. Mostly purchasers, t-shirts, albums, download songs. They don't care if it's an album or song. Tickets to a show. There has to be some relative connection to that number, because that's where the work starts, and record labels and people don't want to start from zero. They always want to start from, what do you have? You know, we talked about that before. Yeah. If you've got 50,000 fans, 100,000, 500,000 fans, you know, as an actor or something, you know, 500,000 fans is not a big deal because they're watching you on YouTube and stuff. As a band, you get 50,000 followers and people are paying attention. If you go to do shows and you get, here it's called SoundScan. It's not in Russia or Europe, I don't think. It's in the United States. SoundScan. When you go to a club, you get the manager beforehand to sign off that you're there, and here's the stack of records that you're selling and the shirts you're selling. At the end of the night, you show him, this is how many we sold, and they sign off. And then you go online and you put in your numbers, and he's approved it. And you send a picture of that. So if you can sell, it doesn't matter if you have 10 or 25 or 100 or 500 people at a show, but if you can sell 5, 10, 15, 20 pieces of product at every show and show that in SoundScan every time you play, and you play 3 days a week, right? They're gonna pay attention. It's about the motion. It's about the action. They don't care if it's a lot, because record labels are arrogant. They think that once you're making a little bit, they just throw money at it and they can make it big. Yeah. But you have to prove you can make it even small, right? So it takes more work than bands are used to doing these days, because they just figure, I'm talented, I did a song, we're artists, and so somebody else is going to manage us and do all the work. Well, that's not the way it works anymore. You have to participate in your own success on a business level as well as a music level.
When you was A&R, how do you find bands?
I started with friends, and they say, hey, come and see this band, and I go see the band. And then I'd stay for 2 or 3 bands, and the third band was really great. I go, okay, hey, what's up? Let me take a tape back. We'll talk next week. Let me take it back and listen and tell me what else you got, and meet with me. And then, you know, so you just kind of find it as you go, you know. And there's also people in the company who said, oh, listen to this. This is great. You got to sign this. It's my nephew. Here, take it. You know, and you got to be diplomatic in those instances and do that. And I've got stories that I can't talk about on camera.
what is the best way to promote your music for nowadays?
You know, playlists, unless you've got money to keep it going and build it, a playlist you end up, you know, people, music and video and movies are all very perishable. And that's the issue that Netflix and all these people have, is that, okay, you can binge watch a season of shows, and then what? That's one evening. So what do you do for tomorrow night and the next night? And it's the same thing with music. Once they've seen it on YouTube once or heard it on on Spotify a couple times, and there's your playlist, that's it. What's next? So you really have to build a catalog. I was talking with Z about that stuff, and she was very, very clear that you need a big, really great library of photos and videos and music that you put together, and then pick the moment that you want to put them out depending on how much reaction you get. And you're not stopping and waiting a month because you have to record more. So you have to collect all your stuff and put it all together and make your game plan and get it all going, and then actualize your game plan with the different things and watch how many people it attracts and do that.
Do bands need a manager to get connected with music label?
It's called unsolicited. You can't just go without a lawyer or a manager or somebody presenting you. But A&R people have found bands on their own, and a lot of times if you meet a bartender who works at a club and you ask him enough, he's going to say, yeah, I got a friend at this label over here, and he says if I should always look out for a good band. Because in one evening at a club, 6 bands will play. It's 5 days a week, 6 days a week, sometimes even 7 days a week. So A&R guys don't go every show all the time, but a bartender's every day. It's his job. So if he goes, oh, whoa, that band's really good, he writes it down, he calls his friend, he goes, hey, go online and check out this band. Then if that band has the following we're talking about, and has some good pictures, and has a good web page, and maybe a few YouTube things that are recorded properly and not the really terrible audio that you hear from a camera on the ground, you know, in the audience, then they're going to pay attention, and they're going to start following you and following you and watching week to week. So you consistently, like I said, even if it's 5 sales, even if it's 1 club a week, no matter what it is, they're going to follow you and say, do these guys have the heart and the stamina and the strength to hang in there? Because if we blow them up, they're going to be playing in front of 20, 50,000 people and be on tour for 6 weeks and play a different city every night for 6 weeks straight. Can they do that? Can they do the little things? So when we put them in the big things, will they be able to handle it?
If band can sell his merchandise, his music, and doing shows and sell tickets, why band need label in this case?
Good, very good question. The way I do it is that if you do that and you put that together, and all of a sudden you're making each one member of a 4-piece band is making 10, 20 grand a year. That's more than a bicycle delivery guy or a waiter or any of that stuff. You have to put it in context. And if you're doing that, do you want to push it up higher so each band member's making 50,000 or 100,000? And at that point you decide if you need a label, or when the label, because if you're doing that, a label's going to come to you and they say, here's our deal, this is the only deal, here it is, take it or leave it. And you say, no, sorry, we're making money, we don't need your deal. And then they go back and they redo, and they go, well, here's another deal, how about this? And you know, no, we're good. So you've got some power in the process, right? You're not, my favorite statement is, you never come into a situation like this. You always come into a situation like this. You're always making a partnership, never asking for something, right?
Musician in nowadays needs to be more than musicians. They need to maybe know how to doing business, how to
or associate with people. They have to understand it. They definitely have to always understand it, because that's when people get in problems, you know, and stuff. But they have to understand it. So if they've got money to deal with it, they hire me. They hire somebody that I bring in who's part of my team to do the videos like we've been doing, right, for Moke and that, and we get somebody doing the SEO and all that stuff, and a combination of people that are all working together, and that takes some money to start with. So somebody has to have faith. And a lot of times it's either a family member or a close friend or somebody that was in the business a long time ago and now makes a lot of money doing something else, and they would like to kind of be around it again, so they're willing to put up some money to do that. And that's when people call me and ask for my resume and to talk to me and say, okay, if we give you this money, what's the deal and how does it work and what's the thing? And I can never guarantee any deal because how difficult it is to begin with, but you'll come out much better than anybody else, you know, who's trying to work their way up. You either spend the time, years and years, working your way into it and maybe getting it, or you spend 6 months and you get right to the punch and you right to the place and go, okay, this is it, this is what it is, this is our shot. If it works, fine. If it doesn't, we'll go off and do something else. You know, but you always need a good shot, and you need to put in good time, energy, and money to make a shot work. Like going to college. You know, 4 years of college costs money, costs time, a lot of learning experience, and I kind of figure me and my team are like giving bands a PhD in music, the music business, because we teach you everything. We're not interested in just doing it, and you ask questions, we answer you, because we want you to know all the information, because that helps us.
What you can suggest to bands to develop his music, to maybe get signed, to get success in what
to get some
doing.
motion.
Yeah.
It just depends on each individual band. You know, sometimes people will hire me and pay me a smaller amount of money just to look at their paperwork, look at their pictures, look at their things, and get their history and say, okay, this is the next 2-3 steps you need to do. Come back to me when you're done with those, and give you that direction. You know, and that works. That's my other suggestion. If you don't have a ton of money and everything, that there's always some way to make a deal to help give you the next couple of steps, because it's very important for me to show you the next couple steps and have you actualize those steps and come back to me and say, I've done those, what's next? It makes me feel better and makes me want to participate more, because I'm not dragging you to the party, you're walking with me to the, you know, and it takes heart and energy and talent and some business smarts to advance.
And about music recording, do bands need to record professional records as much as they can, or for start it enough some kind of demo, labels or A&R, how they pick band? For example, when you was A&R, what is your important things, what you're looking for?
Yeah, I want to, you know, when I'm putting that together, I want to see 4 or 6 songs done really well that give you the brand of that band. What's the style? Can they put it in if they were going to go on the road with a band, who would be the bands that they're closely associated in their style of music, that the big band would go, hey, those guys, we like them, they kind of fit in with our crew, come on and join us, right? And same with radio stations or things that people listen to. If they listen to certain acts, you know, then they want to hear other acts like that. So you have to kind of find where you fit, you know, and it's not selling out or anything, it's just focusing and directing the talent that you have into something that is marketable and palatable. And then anything you can record sitting on your table, writing a song on your couch, writing a song. You see, I've got 50 song demos of just me playing guitar and singing, and here's the lyric sheet, and here's the thing, what do you think of these songs? I'll go to see a band that hires me, I'll go see them at a rehearsal studio, and I'll say, okay, start playing me songs, and if it doesn't mean I like or don't like something if I cut you off, because I got a lot of songs to go through, and I want to see how many songs you got. So And I'll say, okay, play, and they'll play, and I'll take some notes, and what's the name of that song again? Okay, yeah, I like that, it's pretty good, okay, play the next song, and I'll go through, and sometimes I'll get to 10 or 12 songs, and the guy goes, well, that's all we got right now.
Mhm.
You know, what kind of collection is that? That's not a library, that's not, and then sometimes I'll go 3 or 4 or 5 hours and get to 80, 90 songs. I'll go, okay, great. And some of them are recap of other songs, some of them aren't so good, but there's always something in that group
Mhm.
that you can find that you can now concentrate on. You want to write like this. And that gives you the beginning of branding,
Mhm.
you know. And you look to outside people to do that. You know, whether it's your friends and they go, I love that song, it's my favorite song. And you know that person, you know why it's their favorite song. So you want to make sure that the song is something that's viable and not just, you know, because they love the Beatles, it sounds like the Beatles, you know.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean it's a great song, it just means it sounds like the Beatles.
Mhm.
So you want to be able to focus down to a finite number of songs, whether it be 3 or 6 or 9 or 12 or 25, whatever the number is, saying, this is our direction. This, we like this. This is where we want to go. And you go, okay, so this is what you're aiming for. So start writing. A perfect example is Prince, right?
Mhm.
Prince wrote a lot of songs. Many songs he didn't record because they weren't right for him, but he wrote them. He wrote Manic Mondays, which was a big hit for the Belinda Carlisle and her, and it was huge. Nobody had, it wasn't even close to style, the Prince style of music. It wasn't even close, but it worked for them, and they had a hit with it. So songs aren't throwaways because they don't work for your brand. They're just songwriting demos that may work for somebody else. And you use them to license them off to other people. And that's another form of income.